Hello, hello. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another IELTS journey with Fabi. We talk about everything and anything. IELTS test. All right, okay. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Fabi. I'm an English teacher. Actually, I'm an IELTS expert, and I live here in Brisbane, Australia, and I help people get the score they need on the IELTS test so they can apply for opportunities abroad. Okay. Are you ready to live abroad, study abroad, work abroad? Whatever you'd like to do abroad, you need the IELTS test for it. Okay. So that's why I'm here. I'm here to give you heaps of information about the IELTS test so you can do the right thing. Okay. Cool. So today we're going to talk about why people keep postponing the IELTS test. Why do people don't do the IELTS test straight away? Why they keep waiting and waiting and waiting? And I'll tell you a few things you can do to take action. Okay, but before I start, I have an invitation for you. Okay, have you heard of the workshop IELTS Booster? All right, guys. So I have a special event for you. It's free, so you don't have to pay. It's online, so you don't have to come to Australia to see me. Okay. So, guys, my event, IELTS Booster, is free. It's online. Okay. And we are going to have 3 classes. Okay. 3 classes. It starts on the 18th of August, like in 3 weeks from today. Okay, so we're gonna have 3 classes. 18th of August, July, August, 18th of August, 20th of August, and 22nd of August. So the class will be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay. And in this workshop, I'll tell you everything you need to know about the IELTS test. I'll tell you the first steps, okay, to get your score for the IELTS test. Okay. To get information about this workshop, if you're watching me on YouTube, there will be a link in the description. You can click on that link and join. But if you're watching me on Instagram, if you just type join in the comments right now, you will get a link from me. Okay, and then you'll be able to click on this link and you can join the workshop. All right. If you have any questions about the IELTS Booster Workshop, you can send me a message on Instagram. All right, goody goody. So that's my invitation for you. Okay. And guys, if you have any questions for me about the IELTS test, you can always pop the questions in the comments and I will, if I don't get to it straight away, I will get to it later. All right. Okay. Cool. Oh, also, you can tell me where you're watching me from. I love to know where you guys are watching me from. As I say, Colombia is usually the winner. All right. Cool. So, if you're here with me, you're ready to study abroad, right? Are you? So if you're ready to study abroad, you can just say, yes, Chile, woohoo, someone from Chile. Cool. Yeah, I've never been to Chile. I really need to go there. I heard it's beautiful. All right, guys. Um, so if you're here, it's because you want to study abroad, want to work abroad, or live abroad. Okay, you can type me. Okay, if you are ready to do it. But lots of people tell me they want it. Oh, Fabi, I really want to study abroad. Oh, Fabi, I really want to work abroad. I want to do a master's in Australia. I want to work in Canada. Okay, so lots of people tell me that. But then they are not doing much. They are a little bit stuck and they can't move. Are you like that? Is that you? You really have this desire, but you don't know what to do. Okay. And some people might call you lazy. You say, oh, I really want to study abroad. And people ask you, what have you done about it? And you say, nothing. People will think you're lazy. But I understand you. I have so many students who have been through where you guys are at. If you are can't even start, okay? And why I'm here talking to you, because guys, if you have the dream of working abroad, studying abroad, okay, living abroad, you need the IELTS test. Full stop. I lived abroad when I was 21. Okay, I left Brazil when I was 21 and I just turned 42. And in the last 20 years, I lived in Brazil for like 3, 4 years. So I know exactly what it's like to go abroad. And I did 3 English examinations. I did the TOEFL, I did the CPE, and I did every little thing I wanted to do abroad. I needed to prove my English. And that's why I'm here with you today. Because to do things abroad, you have to prove your English. Okay? If you have that dream, we have to start thinking about it. But some people want to study abroad, but they don't know they need the IELTS test. Maybe that's you. I don't know. Maybe if you're here, you know you need the IELTS test. Okay? But then knowing about the test is one thing, right? Doing something about the test, it's another thing. And that's what we're going to talk about today here. Why aren't you moving? Why haven't you done anything about it yet? If you're here with me, that's your first step. Okay, that's your very first step. Just being here with me, it's something that you can do. Shoot. Start working towards your goals, not just goals, your dreams. Why do I say that studying abroad, working abroad, and living abroad is a dream? Because it was my dream. It's not because I wanted it was a goal. No, it was my dream. I really wanted to study abroad and work abroad. In my case, I studied and worked because I was an au pair in the United States. So I was working for the family and I was also studying. Okay, so I was doing 2 things at the same time. Like you. We can't afford just to study, can we? So yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I went to the US. That's one of the reasons I came to Australia, because here you can study and work at the same time. Okay, so that's why I'm here. I'm here to talk to you about that. And the main reason, from my experience, okay, the main reason people don't start, don't do the IELTS test, don't start their process of doing the IELTS test, is not because the English is not enough. You tell me, oh, Fabi, my English is not enough. I know that's not why you haven't started yet. Oh, Fabi, my grammar is so bad. Guys, I know that's not why. Okay, I know. You haven't started yet because you are scared. There, I said it. You haven't started studying for the IELTS test yet because you're scared. And it's okay to be scared. Okay, like I said to you, I knew what I wanted. I have my goals. I had my dreams. When it came time to do it, I remember when I arrived in the United States, I cried for a whole day. I cried for the whole day because I was missing my family. But then the next day I was fine. But yes, guys, we are scared. It's okay to be scared. Okay. But what I think helps, okay, with being scared is just feeling more confident. And how do you feel more confident? Just by being here, just by being here with me, learning more about the IELTS test, getting information. Okay, getting information about it. That's a great start. Okay, because when you have more information about things, you become more confident. Okay, and then the next step is definitely to join my workshop. And when you join my workshop, it's free, guys. It's free, and you don't have to pay. You learn even more, and then you make a decision. And then you make a decision. Okay, this is the IELTS test. Is what I have to do. All right. And then where do I go from here? Okay. Because just being stuck, not knowing what to do. Okay. And again, watching videos online, yes, it helps, but that's not studying. Watching videos online is not going to get you there. Okay. But I understand that sometimes you are very, very scared. Okay. I have a student. Okay. Let me tell you a little bit about her. And she was scared. Oh my gosh, she was so scared. It was very funny. She met me through Instagram, and then um she joined my course. I think it was July last year when she joined my course. Yeah, it was July last year. Oh my god, it's August already. Yeah, so she joined my course in July last year, and she came here. I don't know, like she came, and the people who worked out her visa didn't do a very good job. She got really bad information, and then she got on a visa that wasn't the best visa. Next thing, her visa was denied. Next thing, she was on a tourist visa. She couldn't work. Anyways, big, big problems. And she knew she needed to do the IELTS test. She didn't know when and didn't know the score because she didn't know what visa she was going to apply for. But she joined my course anyways, and she started. And we had usually in my course, we start with writing because that's one thing that people struggle with. We did writing, she was fine. We did reading, she was okay. And then we did writing. No, sorry, we did listening, she was all right. And then we did the speaking. She missed the class where we're going to do the speaking test. She missed it. And then I asked her what happened. She's like, no, 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 I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And then she kept studying all the parts of the test, but not the speaking because she was very, very scared of the speaking part. And then she finally got an email from her lawyer saying, hey, you have to do the IELTS test within the next month because we need to apply for your visa. And then she texted me and she said, hey, Fabi, I have to do the test soon. I said, okay. Do you think I'm ready? I said, you haven't done a speaking test yet. And then I didn't hear from her for 2 days. And then I messaged her back and I said, hey, what's going on? It's like, I'm really scared. I said, I know, but we have to practice. So we made an appointment and we were practicing for the speaking test. And in the middle of the test, she starts crying. She was really, really nervous, very, very nervous. And she started crying. And then she's like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I said, it's okay. Calm down. And then she said, what if I cry during the speaking test? And I said, it's okay. It's like, no, it's not okay. I'm going to get a bad score. I said, look, the examiner is to check your English. It doesn't mean that if you cry, you get a lower score. The examiner would just know that you're very, very nervous. Okay. And being nervous might affect your score, but you're not going to get a low score because you're crying. And then she cried even more. And then we finished the lesson that day. Okay. We was like, okay, that's it. That's it. But we kept in touch. And then luckily, she lives in Brisbane. Okay. And she said, hey, Fabi, can we meet? And then let's try to do speaking test face to face. I said, okay. And then we met. And then it was a little bit better for her. Okay. But still, okay. And then the next week we did online and she was fine. It was just that barrier that she had. And then she did the test. Would you like to know her scores? She got 8 for reading. Look at that. 8, so scared. 8 for reading. She made like 3, 4 mistakes. That was it. It was perfect, almost perfect. She got, I think, 6.5 for listening. She did say that I think was part 1. She made a few mistakes. They were really silly mistakes. And then writing 5.5 and speaking 5.5. She needed 4.5. Her overall score was 6.5. Can you believe it? And she needed 4.5 and she was freaking out. And then, of course, she came to me and said, oh, Fabi, thank you so much for pushing me, blah, blah, blah. And but that's my job. You know, I know when I talk to you guys, I know what you're capable of. I know. I know what you're capable of. I know what you can do. Okay. So if you're scared, okay, if you're scared, uh, you should do something just to check if you're scared for a reason. She was scared for no reason because I could talk to her. I could see. For me, her speaking was about a 5, 5.5. And she needed a 4.5. So I'm like, she's good. But in her mind, she's like, no, I'm going to get a 2. I'm going to get 3. And I said, no, 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 you're not going to. Okay. So, guys, so being scared is fine. Okay. But I think you should push yourself a little bit, just a little bit, so you can build your confidence and you can get there. That was her case. We built her confidence slowly and slowly and slowly. And then she could see that she was performing well on the other parts of the test. And that's what pushed her for the speaking. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about, guys. Most people, they don't start because they are scared. Scared the test, scared of failing, scared of what people are going to say. Oh, by the way, she didn't tell anyone she was going to do the test. She only told me. Nobody knew she was going to do the test. Only me. Because she was really worried, really, really worried. You know? So, yeah. So that's what I'm telling you guys. And again, it's my job to support my students. Okay. And in her case, that's exactly what happened. Okay. So if you are scared, take the first step. Being here with me, listening to me, that is your first step. But then what are you going to do next? Join my workshop. That's your next step. And then start doing small things. Doesn't have to be a big, huge, gigantic thing. You can do small steps. Take small steps. Okay? And you will get there. And then would you like to know another part of the story? This was like 2 weeks ago. So she did the test, right? She did the test and then she decided to so she applied, yeah, so she did the test and she applied, right, for a nomination visa. I'm not sure what that is. I think it's for because she got a sponsor, so she needed the nomination and then she can apply. I don't quite understand, but I know it was this step and they said it would take about 2 to 3 months. It had been almost 6 months, yeah, because she applied in December. Yeah, almost 6 months and no reply, no reply. And she came to my house for coffee. Yes, sometimes I become friends with my students. And she came to my house for coffee. And again, she was crying. She has her kids here and she doesn't know what's going to happen. Her kids are at school. They love Australia. And she was here and she was crying, waiting for and she was complaining about immigration. Immigration is this, immigration is that. And I said to her, look, stop complaining about immigration. She said, but they don't give me my visa. I said, look, immigration is being nice to you. They're giving you the opportunity to apply. So they're being very nice to you. She's like, huh. And I said, same thing with the IELTS test. The IELTS test, don't complain about the IELTS test. The IELTS test giving you opportunities abroad. Don't complain. And I said to her, stop complaining about immigration. Don't complain about immigration. They are helping you. Change your mindset and you will feel better. And then she stopped crying. She's like, okay, I'll think about it. I think it was on a Friday. And we talked a little bit more. I said to her, like if she has negative feelings towards immigration, it's not going to be very good. And then, guys, I'm not kidding. 4 days later, she got an email saying that the nomination was approved. I said to her, see, when you change your mindset, things happen. She's like, oh, Fabi, I can't believe it. Now I can apply for the next step. I said, perfect, perfect. Okay, so see, guys. So, and it's the same thing about the IELTS test. You're always complaining about the test. Stop complaining about the test. This is an opportunity for you. Okay, an opportunity. And lots of people, well, my students at least, when they're studying for the IELTS test, they improve their English too. So that's an opportunity. You improve your English. And after you improve your English, what's going to happen? Well, you want to go abroad, right? To study abroad. Okay, so while you're doing the IELTS test, why don't you improve your English? Because when you go to university abroad, you need very good English. You see? So it's all about how you see. Take a small step. Or why are you scared? Why are you scared? Okay, think about that. And again, it's all about the small steps and how you can get there. Okay, guys, the IELTS test is not your enemy. You know what's your enemy? Fear. Fear is your enemy. When you're scared, you're paralyzed. You can't do anything. And that's probably maybe why you can't start studying for the IELTS test. But like I said before, first step, being here with me. Second step, join my workshop. Watch some of my videos. Okay, maybe these are steps, a few steps that will help you. And just think about it. You have a dream. Maybe your dream is just to study in another country. Maybe it's always been your dream. Maybe just like my student, you have a family. And she said, in my country, I don't want my children growing up in my country. I want my children to choose to live in another place, a better place. And that's why I'm here in Australia. That's why she's here. What about you? Why? Why do you have the dream of studying abroad or working abroad? Maybe you just want better opportunities professionally. That's why I'm here in Australia. I love teaching English in Australia. I love it. I just love it. I started it in 2012 and I've been doing it since then. Okay, so why? What is your motivation? Okay, because we always have to think about motivation. Okay, what is my motivation? And then we think about, why am I stuck? Why are you stuck? You don't believe in yourself. Fear. I think fear is one of the biggest ones. Fear of failure. Fear of failure. Okay, that's one of the biggest things. Okay, guys. And again, if you have a busy life, and it's not a priority right now, maybe you can do small things every day. Like I was talking to a student yesterday and she said, Fabi, I've been working so much, and these are really good opportunities. I can't turn them down, but I can study. I said to her, even if it's 30 minutes, 10 minutes every day. That's what I do with my students in my course too, especially in the beginning, just to get them going. All right. Guys, if you have any questions, you can pop the questions in. Okay. If you have any questions. Okay. So, and again, so let's talk about the IELTS. Oh my God, I told a very long story today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed the story. Okay. So, the biggest problem now is being stuck. So, okay, you need to do the IELTS test. You want to study abroad. Okay, you need to do the test. Cool. What are you doing about the test? Nothing. Why? Because I'm scared. Oh, wait. You have to build confidence. And how do you build confidence? Through practice, through knowing how the test works. Because you don't want any surprises. Surprises will bring your confidence down. Okay, surprises will bring your confidence down. But practice is not. Knowing how the test works is not going to. Okay, so again, and let's just think about it. I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago. If you have English, but you don't know how the test works, you might not succeed. If you know how the test works, but your English is not very good, you might not succeed. You need both. You need the combination. You need a little bit of IELTS, practice strategies, and a little bit of English. And how do we know that? When you start practicing, we know exactly what you need to focus on. Okay? So that's where you know. And just when I tell my students some of the strategies, they improve 1 point. Or sometimes they're a little bit stuck. They know the strategy, but they're a little bit stuck, especially in writing. And then we just fix a few grammar mistakes. And guess what? They improve half a point. And so lots of people come to me with 6.5 and they did a 7. So, yeah. Okay, guys. So it is possible. Okay. Even if you're scared today, don't be scared tomorrow. Don't fear the IELTS test. Don't fear the IELTS test. Okay. And again, another thing that I think helps a lot of people is also a plan. If you've been following me, you know I'm all pro plan. Okay. And again, because I've seen lots of people, actually, I have a student and she was struggling. She had done the test 3 times. And then when she came to me, she had done the test 3 times already. And then I said to her, "How are you studying?" And then I said, "Oh, Fabi, can I share my screen?" Because on Zoom. So, "Can I share my screen?" I said, "Yes." And then she shared her screen. And then she went to a folder on her computer and said, "That's it." And there were like 20 different books. And I said, "What do you mean is this?" She said, "Yeah, that's how I'm studying. I'm using these books." And I said, "Which books are you using?" She's like, I think it's this one. No, 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 it's that one. I was like, "How do you choose?" She's like, "No, I just open a book and then I look at it." And I said, "But what do you do with the book?" She said, "I read it, but then sometimes I don't like it and I change the book." I said, "Stop. You don't need any of that." She's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'll send you the materials." She's like, "But I have all these ones." I said, "You don't need it." You see? So sometimes a little bit of guidance and plan, okay? Okay, it works too. Okay. And I have a little surprise for you. Little surprise for you. When you join the IELTS Booster Workshop, you get an email from me. Mhm. You get an email from me. Oh, for those of you who have just arrived, wait, let me invite you to the workshop. So, there is a workshop called IELTS Booster, okay, where I'll tell you about the first steps to get the score you need on the IELTS test so you can study, work, and or live abroad. Okay. It's free, so you don't have to pay. It's online, so you don't have to come to Australia to join me. Okay. So if you're watching me on Instagram, you can just type join. If you're watching me on YouTube, the link will be below. When you click on this link, you put in your email, and then you get an email from me with information about the workshop. Okay. So there, I will also ask you to answer a survey just so I can know more about you. Okay. And the way I designed my workshop, okay, lesson 3 of the workshop, I get lots of questions from you and I answer the questions in the workshop. So when you answer the survey, you can ask me lots of questions. All right. And then when you answer the survey and you ask me questions and you tell me a little bit about yourself. And for all the people who are answering the survey, guess what? They are going to get a study plan from me. I just got a message from my team here saying that. Woohoo! Okay, guys, so you're going to get a plan from me. Okay, when you answer the survey. Okay, and again, maybe just by looking at this plan, you're going to go, oh, wow, now it's starting to make sense. Now everything is starting to make sense. And that's what I want. I want you guys to look at the IELTS test and go, wow, now this makes sense. This makes a lot of sense. Okay, that's how I want you guys to feel about the IELTS test. Okay, guys. So today, sorry, we talked about, okay, why haven't you done anything about your IELTS test yet? If you have the dream of living, working, or studying abroad, why? Usually it's because of fear. Okay. And we have fear because we don't have a plan. We have fear because we don't have confidence. Okay. So we have to take the first step. We need a first step. Okay. Always, always, always. And first step is to be here with me. The second step could be join my workshop. IELTS Booster Workshop. It's free. You don't have to pay. Okay. And then the next step is answering the survey that I asked you to answer, and then you can get the is to watch the lessons in my workshop. And after you watch all the lessons, you're going to have so much information about the IELTS test. So much, so much. And then you see what you do. What would you like to do? Okay. All right. Sounds like a plan. I already have a plan for you. I bet that's why you guys are here with me, isn't it? Because yeah, I always tell my students, my job is to make your lives easy, but when it's too easy, I complicate a little bit. No, that's when I'm talking about grammar, like when I teach my students grammar and then they really get it and then make it a little bit more complicated, especially if you need a 7. Okay. Then we need to make things a bit more complex so you can get your 7, right? All right, guys. Any questions for me? Any questions? No? All good? All right. Okay. So I'll be back tomorrow. So I'll be with you every day this week. Okay, because I know I have lots of information to share, especially because the workshop is coming up. Okay, and once I tell people about the workshop, I get so many questions on my Instagram, so many questions. And then I like to share some of the questions I get from my Instagram with you too. Okay, because I know that it's usually the case. If one person has a question, one concern, everyone will have it too. All right. So I like to share it with you guys. All right. So I'll be back tomorrow talking to you a little bit more about the IELTS test. Okay. But link is below the video here. All right. And you can join. All right. See you tomorrow. Bye.